All right, all right. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another late night stream. As you can see by a title, we got even more college football 25 news. We just got a new trailer that EA just put out just a couple hours ago, and unfortunately, I couldn't react to the trailer up until now, but we finally got a deep dive trailer and some more information about Dynasty mode. Now, like I've said on the past trailers, I'm more of someone who is more into the, single player road to glory stuff where I personally like to create a player on a position, mostly quarterback, and then go up the ranks. Unfortunately, there's no high school, but then go up the ranks, get recruited by a school, build them up, and from a third string, second string, all the way to a starter, then become a Heisman, then take them to the NFL, right? That's why I typically like to do. That's my bread and butter. But I still like to be touching Dynasty because I still think Dynasty is fun. I most likely will be doing a Mizzou Dynasty at the minimum once we get our hands on College Football 25. So EA just put out a trailer for all the info. And not only that, I will not forget this time, they also released a blog post article that details even more about the Dynasty mode. So let's just hop into it. Let's first react to the trailer and let's see what Dynasty mode is all about. And I may not be the biggest Dynasty mode fan, but I know there's plenty of people that are. So is this mode a W or an L? Well, let's find out what people reacting to the news are saying. Send me Horn in jail. You can't be sent to Horn in jail if you're already in prison, Dakota. You already know this. Anyway. Alright, let's react to the trailer of Dynasty mode. I'm really waiting for that Road to Glory trailer, though. Please drop that, EA. I already spent $100. I already pre-ordered the deluxe edition of College Football 25 that gets me access 3 days early. I already pre-ordered it. Get me the Road to Glory trailer, and then let's really see what you're all about. All right, here we go.
Hey everyone, Kirk Herbstreit here with EA Sports College Football 25, back for another deep dive. This time we're talking about everyone's favorite mode, Dynasty.
All right, hold up 1 second. I want to see that main menu.
And we're talking about everyone's favorite.
All right, chat, what do you think of the main menu? What do you think of the EUI? We got home, we got game modes, we got training, create and share, which I assume create and share is create players, I assume this is where you also get the team builder stuff, create rosters. You can also share roster. I assume that's what this is about. Settings, more, play now, recommended ultimate team, road to the college football playoff, Dynasty. Interesting, there is no road to glory mode in here, right? That's interesting. You would think that would be here because play now assumes this is quick game, ultimate team, road to the college football playoff. This is not road to glory. This is something completely different. Dynasty, settings, accessibility, and you have USC and Cal. Saturday, October 9th, 2004, Los Angeles. So I guess this is what I'm assuming. This is funny that's USC. If I had to guess, looking at this screen, the first time you boot up College Football 25, you are able to choose what your favorite team is. And every time you boot up College Football 25, it will show you an iconic game or a memorable moment of your favorite team. So for instance, when we hop in College Football 25 the first time, obviously my favorite team will be Mizzou for obvious reasons. So I'd imagine one of the games they'll show up as a promotional image is Mizzou beating Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl, or Mizzou beating Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl last year. I'd imagine it's going to be stuff like that. Which, if so, that is really cool. It's a small detail, but I like it. It's better than just seeing a blank image.
Favorite mode, Dynasty. Online Dynasty in College Football 25 can accommodate up to 32 teams, and you can play with friends for up to 30 seasons. Today, we'll take a closer look at the new 12-team college football playoff.
That's crazy. A 12-team college football playoff. Isn't it crazy that we get to experience a 12-team college football playoff before the real thing happens in real life? Like, just think about that, chat. Isn't that crazy? We get to experience something in game and simulation before we see it in real life.
Recruiting, the transfer portal, and a ton of customization options to make your program unique. College football has seen seismic changes over the past few years. And in EA Sports College Football 25, you can experience this new landscape while building your program the way you want. The 2024 season marks the debut of the new 12-team college football playoff, and you can play it first in the game months before the real thing. You could be the first coach to lead your school through the new 12-team playoff and hoist the college football playoff trophy. Recruiting is the lifeblood of college football, and in a world of unlimited transfers, managing your dynasty roster has never been more important. Evaluate your needs.
Okay, wait, hold on 1 second. Let's look at this mode. So you got the recruiting board, the prospect list, transfer portal, my school, top classes. You have 35 recruits that you can target on your board, 140 hours of 600 total. You can offer 35 scholarships in total. So this is the recruiting board, okay? Overview, recruiting, scouting 100%. So I take it as you're able to scout the player, you're able to see what their overall is, what their attribute is. And then once you get to 100%, that's when you can start to schedule them for visits. You can offer a scholarship. You can search their social media, which is learning more about them. You can DM the player. I doubt you can customize what messages you send to the player, but you can DM them, which is interesting. You can contact their friends and family. You can send the house, which is send everything to them. And then you have soft sell and hard sell. You got the motivations. These are from NCAA 14, where you can academic prestige, athletic facilities. So that's all about what is important to the recruit. Like, not all of these are going to matter to every single recruit. Like, some players are going to really care about academic prestige. So they're going to target schools like Vanderbilt, like Northwestern, like Stanford. Other guys are going to target, let's just say, someone like championship contender. So if you're not the Alabamas of the world, the Georgias of the world, the LSUs of the world, then chances are, if you're a small program trying to go for a guy where championship contender is at the top of their list, you're probably not going to get them. You probably have to really, really, really work your magic in order to get someone like that, especially if they're a 4 or 5 star. But I do like that, though.
The roster has never been more important. Evaluate your needs and opportunities for talent upgrades at the start of each season. The best way to build a powerhouse is to recruit through the high school ranks. So let's fill up your recruiting board. Each year, over 3,500 high school recruits are generated from all over the country, with certain regions representing real-world hotspots for blue-chip talent, like South Florida and Metro Atlanta.
That's a W. That is attention to detail. Man, is it crazy to say that EA's actually paying attention to detail in a game for once? They're actually seem to be putting in effort. It's crazy, but no, that's crazy. Because most of the time you'd be like, it's good enough. We would normally pat EA on the back if, like, a lot of the, 4, 5 star, pro level quarterbacks come from California, right? A lot of the wide receivers come from Texas, right? And normally if we got that news from EA, we'd be like, that's amazing, W EA, W job, we give them a pat on the back, and that's good enough for us. But no, they take it a step further. It's not just California, it's not just Texas, but areas and portions of Texas. So, like, it's not enough for it just to be like the, big time quarterbacks are coming from California. No, they'll be coming from like South California. Or a lot of the speedy wide receivers will come from like, Eastern Texas instead of just Texas as a whole. That is crazy detail. So that's interesting, number one. And two, that also plays in the whole thing of, like I said earlier about recruits having things that are important to them, where it's like championship contender, academic prestige. One of them is proximity to home. So let's just say you're a small-time program, whether you're through Team Builder or an actual real-life school, and, well, a guy you're trying to recruit is within your wheelhouse, within your area of the hometown. You got an advantage. That's pretty good.
Do research to find recruits that best fit your program and determine who you can realistically land.
Okay, so this is the scouting that we were talking about earlier, where it's now scouting 100%. So now you can spend hours learning more about the prospects' ratings, abilities, and mentals, 100% scouted. So now we have attributes on power moves, speed, strength, pursuit, tackle, ability, awareness, play recognition, acceleration, and hit power, abilities. Interesting. So from what I know, and development trait, so that's the one where it's like, they develop at like normal rate, or they develop at, superstar. I can't remember what it was in NCAA 14, but the elite development. So they are able to develop very, very quickly and get a very high overall very quickly. For what I know is the abilities, you can upgrade over time. And not only that, the abilities upgrade, like you can upgrade them during the season, but most of the time, the abilities will upgrade in the off season. So from going from freshman year to sophomore year to junior year, the abilities will upgrade during that time. Mentals, on the other hand, will not upgrade. So whatever mentals this guy has, so let's, for instance, if you're trying to recruit 5-star Sammy Blount, hey Sammy, what's up? If you're trying to recruit him, the mentals is DL Rally and Road Dog. I don't remember what those do exactly, but you cannot change them. You can't add them. You can't remove them because, I want to remove DL Rally and replace them with something else. Like, you can't do that. What mentals they have is what mentals they have. I don't even think you can upgrade them either. So they're locked in. So whatever mentals this guy has, it will stay there. Interesting. And I know another thing a lot of people, at least, I don't know about a lot of people, but I know something that people talked about is, for instance, D. Dalton right here, number 5. People wish, instead of the position being left outside linebacker, they wish just for simplicity, he was either athlete or just linebacker. So then you can, it's the ease of recruiting instead of, pursuing, left outside linebacker, right outside linebacker, middle linebacker, right? Instead of recruiting all those at the same time differently, instead just recruit linebacker, and you're able to, sort out the position in the depth chart later on. So I know some people said like, I wish, just sort it all in linebacker and then it's a lot easier. But, I mean, is it really that big of a deal? I don't know. Once again, I'm not the biggest fan of Dynasty, but I just know that's something that people talk about, so I want to mention it.
A recruit's interest in your school is decided by 14 different pitch grades like proximity to home, playing time, and brand exposure. So you'll need to discover how your program's pitch grades align with your recruit's desires, in addition to scouting for talent.
Yep. Active actions, DM player, friends and family, TV time, scholarship offered, visit scheduled. Make some calls so players, family, and close friends learn much more about what they value. Yep. And from what I know, brand exposure, which is the NIL equivalent of College Football 25, if I'm not mistaken, you cannot upgrade that. It's not a thing where it's like, let's say I, start a dynasty at Mizzou. Like, we're not going to go from a, super elite program and everything's going to be covered in sponsorships and every single player's going to be getting NIL. I don't know what will determine brand exposure. I don't think you can upgrade it, so I'm not sure how brand exposure works, how people calculate it, and what makes a high overall for a brand exposure and what makes it a low overall. That is something that I'm not sure of. I don't think you can upgrade it. So I think that's just one thing that we just figure out once the game releases.
Some players have a deal breaker requirement, and if your program cannot provide, the recruit will lock you out. Deal breakers also drive a player's decision to enter the transfer portal. Monitor at-risk players and get one last chance to convince your favorites to stay. Track your recruits as they narrow down their top schools. Pitch a prospect to gain more interest, and then set up school visits when the timing is right.
That's interesting. That is interesting with deal breakers. Because from what I remember from NCAA 13 and 14 when it came to, Dynasty, like, you would recruit a player, you would make these promises of, oh, we're a championship contender, you would be able to compete for championships. And that could either sway them or that could not sway them. But let's just say you make these promises, you're able to recruit them, and now you're on their team. Great. And then after that, it doesn't really matter what you promise them. It doesn't really matter, how they perform or how you perform as a coach for the next 3-4 years, however long they're there. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect them because, hey, they're on your roster and that's all that matters. You got them on your roster. Your job is now done. But here, it's like if you make a promise, you don't just keep the promise or make the promise in the recruiting process. You have to follow it up while they're on your team. And if you don't, they may leave. So that's very interesting. That keeps you on edge and making sure that you have good relationships with your players, not just during the recruiting process. Because in the past, you try to have a good relationship with a player when you're recruiting them, but after that, I don't really care. They're on my team, so why should I bother, wanting to see what they want anymore, right? They're on my team. I got what they want. And when it comes to these visits, this is something that is also very, very, very interesting. Because I feel like in the past college football games, you still had this visit feature. This is not a new feature. But I also feel like, similar to what I was saying earlier about the recruiting stuff, how it wasn't polished. And what I mean is, you can send 5-6 players to one game for one visit, and that'll be it. So that's number one. There would seem to be no max, no limit for how many players you could send for a visit, especially if they were in the same position. So that's now an issue. So you probably don't want to send a visit and have 3 separate quarterbacks come in all in the same week. So that's one tip I've learned. But B, winning or losing the game didn't really matter. Let's say you are doing a dynasty mode at Ohio State, right? And you're trying to find a game to schedule for a visit, and you're like, okay, Ohio State's playing, let's just say, Illinois or Northwestern, right? A lower tier program in the Big Ten, right? Not that impressive a win, but if you, send the recruits to the visit, you win, great, and it has no impact. But here, if you're a big-time program like Ohio State, and you beat an FCS school or a low-tier Big Ten program like Northwestern or Indiana, that could actually be negative towards you because, oh, you just beat a low-tier program. Okay, cool, congrats. You're expected to do that. But if you lose, you might as well have the door shut on you because you pretty much lost that recruit entirely. So it will better benefit you to choose the big-time games, the rivalry games, the ones where you can actually lose instead of the guaranteed win where there's not much of a benefit, there's way more of a risk. So you can actually lose progress even if you win a game. You really want to choose smartly what games you choose to schedule your visits, and you want them to be actual good games, and risk of losing, you don't want them to be too easy. You obviously want to win, of course, But you don't want it to be, okay, well, you won. Cool.
It's crucial to remain in their top 10, then 8, then 5 to finally be part of their top 3. As a recruit trims down to the top 8, you can attempt to increase your appeal. If your school doesn't have exactly what the prospect is looking for, you can try to sway their opinion in your...
If successful, this will add your chosen ideal pitch as the recruit's ideal pitch for your school only. Easier sway in the part of the proposed pitch matches your recruit's ideal pitch. Sway, interesting.
Your favor. Plan visits that elevate a recruit's experience, like pairing a quarterback visit with a wide receiver visit at the same time. It's crucial to keep an eye on the transfer portal when it opens in the offseason to round out your roster with talent you couldn't land from recruiting. Add portal prospects to your board just like you would with recruiting, but expect quick decisions as transfers have a shorter timeline to land a new home. Conference realignment is a hot topic in college football. And with custom conferences in EA Sports College Football 25, Dynasty is yours to control. See what a 20-team super conference...
Look at the Pac-12. Look how dead it is. Goddamn. The Pac-12. It's Oregon State and Washington State. Chat, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I feel like most of the team builder teams out there, they're going to immediately go guns blazing straight for the Pac-12 to win instant coverage championships. That's my gut feeling.
Might look like, or revert to the traditional conference alignment. Shape the conference size and membership and set custom conference rules, set up divisions, and more. Once you've settled your conference options, it's time to select your team. Begin with a highly ranked team and dominate at the top with repeat recruiting and playoff success. Or build from the ground up with a smaller program and prove you have what it takes to go from an unknown to postseason favorite.
Which is what you should be doing. Get out of here with, oh, I'm going to make a college football dynasty. I'm going to control Alabama. I'm going to control Ohio State. Or I'm going to control LSU or Georgia. Get out of here. Stop playing on easy mode. Real dynasties, real GMs, real coaches. We go for the Kennesaw States. We go the team builders, right? Get out of here. If you want to do a dynasty mode, don't do Alabama.
We can't talk about your dynasty without talking about your starting job. Start as an offensive or defensive coordinator and climb the ranks to head coach. Or take over a program as the head coach right away. Choose from one of the 3.
All right, so these are the 3 archetypes, if you will. So this is really getting to the RPG aspect. So motivator, get your players to play their best by boosting their ratings and composure. Nobody has it better than us. Recruiter, Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. Bars, you scout faster and recruit better than any other type of coach. Or tactician, boost your players' ratings on game day. Scheme up the big plays and let the visor fly. Interesting. Chat, what do we do? What is the archetype for the coach? What do you do? Because in the past, what people used to do is they could give less of a fuck, right? They could give less of a fuck about the motivator, the tactician, the X's and O's. All people did in previous college football games when they did Dynasty, when they did a coach, is they just went full on recruiting, right? That was what everyone did. All people did was just focus on recruiting, put all their attributes, put all their energy into recruiting to immediately go from a 2-star program to a 6-star program just by recruiting a top class in the nation, and then just take that elite recruiting class and then just take it on the top. And that's what people did. All people focused on was recruiting. But nowadays, it may not be great to go the full-on recruiting route. Because from what I know, you can't max out on everything. If you are a great recruiter, if that's your priority, you can be a great recruiter still, but you may not be a great motivator. So you may not get the best out of your players. or you may not be the best tactician, so you may not be able to draft up the best X's and O's. You may not be able to draft up the best playbook. On vice versa, you may be a great motivator, you may be able to get the best out of your players, but you're not going to have a elite recruiting class every time. You're not going to be able to max out all three. So you have to pick and choose which one do you want, which one do you think is most valuable, because you won't be able to get all three.
Base coaching types to start. Your coach type will determine what coaching skill tree you start with. From there, the abilities you acquire as you progress will determine what kind of coach you develop into. Unlock additional skill trees with better abilities. Or, if you build up multiple skill trees, you can unlock hybrid trees that leverage a more diverse skill set. The coaching carousel is an important part of every coach's journey. Whether you're the head man at your dream school or working your way up, the carousel is your way of fielding offers from other programs. Head coaches in Dynasty can actively manage their coordinator positions. So if one of your staff takes a job elsewhere, or you decide to cut ties for other reasons, you can use the carousel to replace them.
That's a new feature. Being able to fire and hire, but especially fire your offensive defensive coordinators. Because in the past, you took on a dynasty role, you were just given offensive defensive coordinators. You could upgrade them and build out their skill tree, but you could not fire them. But now you can fire them. However, there's an asterisk here. You can only fire your coaches, your coordinators in the off season. You can't do it in the middle of the season. So that's something to keep in mind.
Remember, even the greatest coaches need support, and every coach has a unique skill tree. It's important to think about how you want to build your staff, whether that's doubling down on your existing strengths to max out your benefits or seeking out balance for a well-rounded staff. Choose wisely. The decisions you make here will matter to your program's success and your coach's progression.
Chef, I'm being honest. For a dynasty, what I'm thinking is I'm going to be the head coach and I'm going to go the full motivator route to get the best out of my players. And my offensive defensive coordinators, they're going to be the ones that are heavily in the recruiting. I feel like that is my strategy when I do a dynasty with Mizzou.
The benefits of coach talents are stackable. So if your head coach and defensive coordinator have the same ability, the impact for that ability will be greater. Well, that's it for today's deep dive into Dynasty mode in EA Sports College Football 25. To make it game day every...
All right. So that is the trailer, but we are not done because EA dropped a whole blog post on it. So let's hop into that, shall we? All right. So let's hop into the deep dive. Hope y'all can see that. So College Football 25 Dynasty Deep Dive. We are not forgetting the last time. We are not in the stream. We are doing this all in one stream. So, you're home for news and information about EA Sports College Football 25, blah, blah, blah. We watched the video, so we got that done. When we were in the early stages of designing Dynasty mode, we talked with members of the community. College football experts and coaches read hundreds of blog posts and tweets and watched countless wishlist videos. We knew how important Dynasty was to our community, and we heard loud and clear that our players wanted a deep experience that is representative of the current college football landscape where roster management and talent acquisition are at the forefront of successful programs. Build your coach. This encompasses the decisions you make on your coaching journey to the top of the college football world, whether that's starting as a coordinator at a small school and making a name for yourself before getting the first head coaching job, or starting as a head coach at your dream school. Every decision you make on your matters. Build your program, deliver the world of college football. This is the start screen for the menu. I like a lot of clean. It's a lot of green. I wonder if it's a lot of green since obviously Colorado State, their logo is a lot of green. So I wonder if you do like, let's just say LSU, will the green be replaced with a lot of purple? Or if you do Alabama, which you're a joke in my opinion, but let's just say you do Alabama, it will be a lot of red. That's the thing to think about. But nice, simple, clean, gets the job done. Not too cluttered. Hopefully the responsiveness and lack of button delay is great, because I know Madden struggles with that in franchise mode a lot, where it takes a century to go to any menu and press any button, so I hope there is not a huge button delay. Let's see. What else? Because I don't want to read this whole thing because we'll be here all day. I'm just trying to skim through important stuff. There is also a number of coaches who are more of a hybrid between two categories. For example, there were coaches who were great at both the recruiting and X's and O's. After breaking down hundreds of coaches, two things were loud and clear. No coach is great at everything. There is no single path to being a great coach. Which is what I was talking about earlier, of how you're not going to be elite at the motivator, recruiter, and X's and O's archetypes. You're going to be great at them, but you're not going to be elite at all of them. So you have to make sacrifices where I may be a great recruiter, but I may not be a great motivator, or I may be a great X's and O's coach, but I may not be the best recruiter. So you have to make sacrifices somewhere. Coach progression. Progressing your coach starts with playing games. As you play, you'll complete coach goals that award XP. Once you earn enough XP, you'll level up your coach to a maximum level of level 50 and be awarded coach points. Coach points can be used to upgrade your coach's abilities. More on that later. There are 4 coach XP goal categories. It can be single game, weekly, season, or career goals. Draft. Pro draft goals based on which round your player is drafted in. For example, players drafted in the first round. Game, individual game goals that range from a single player result like interception and rushing touchdown to a full game result. For example, be a rival, be a top 25 team, win a national championship. Easy stuff. Win a national championship, that's not too hard. Recruiting, stats. The number of times you've completed a goal and your progress towards goal completion can be viewed in the Coach XP goal screen, which can be accessed via the Coach tab in Dynasty mode. Okay. Cool. Each time you complete a goal in game, you receive a notification top left, hence right here. Coach archetypes. We kind of already discussed that. Each archetype has a set of prerequisites and objectives that must be completed in order to purchase them. For example, in order to become an elite recruiter, you must spend 50 coach points, which we talked about how to get the coach points earlier, in the recruiter archetype and sign 2 top 5 recruiting classes. Once these goals are complete, the archetype becomes available for purchase with coach points. Interesting. So in order to be a master motivator, you have to have 5 players drafted. Just in the NFL draft, it doesn't have to be first round, so that's a little bit easier. And spend 50 in the motivator category. So really, you're just focused on getting your players to the NFL draft, which obviously some programs will be a lot easier at getting players drafted than others. In addition to position-based boosts, there are also coach abilities with core gameplay effects so you can really cook. For example, the Scheme Guru archetype focuses on your gameplay style. If you're a coach who likes to play fast, you can upgrade a fast tempo offense, providing you with the following attributes. Battery Pack, Tier 1. Offensive players fatigue slower and hurry up. Caught napping, Tier 2. Increased delay to defenders looking to the sideline at the snap. On their heels, Tier 3. Team composure boosts for first downs gained while running hurry up. And Tip Your Hand, Tier 4. Chance to see the defensive coverage shells and hurry up. Interesting. Go about coordinators. Your coordinator will automatically progress their archetypes and abilities. You will not be able to control which abilities they purchase, nor will you be able to respec your coordinator's abilities. This adds even more importance to how you progress your coach and manage your staff in the coaching carousel. I hope then you're able to see what archetype your coordinators are, right? Because let's say you're going for the master motivator archetype for a coach. You probably don't want your offensive coordinator also be a master motivator. You probably want them to be, a elite recruiter, right? So I hope you can see what their archetype is, what their main goal is, so then you're not trying to repeat the same thing over again. Cult of Mickey Mouse reign. What does that even mean? What Mickey Mouse reign have I won? What? That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean Mickey Mouse reign? When you first sign your first coach contract and create your dynasty, you have all the options to select whatever you want to be: head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. School expectations are determined by the school's current team's prestige and program standing. The better the school, the higher expectations. There are 4 types of contract expectations: win X games, win a conference championship, make the college football playoff, for a national championship. So yeah. So, that's also just a thing in real life. Like, for instance, Ryan Day, being on the hot seat at Ohio State is ridiculous because Ohio State routinely brings in a top 3 recruiting class every year. They are seen as a college football national championship contender every year. They are always ranked in the top, schools every year. They're always going near undefeated every year, but their head coach is on the hot seat of being fired because A, they can't beat their rival Michigan, and B, for all the success, they have not won a national championship yet, which is Ohio State fans, that's their expectation. And on the flip side, if you go to, let's say, another school in Ohio, Akron, they are not as much expecting a national championship contender like Ohio State is. So, winning a national championship is not that important in Akron as opposed to Ohio State. Like, they may just happy that you win, let's say 4 games, then your job security is safe. Your job security will fluctuate throughout the season based on the results of your games and whether or not you're trending towards meeting your contract expectations. Of course, if you don't like the possibility of being fired, you can always turn off user coach firing in your dynasty settings. What's the fun in that? What's the fun in that? Why would you turn that off? If you don't want the possibility of being fired, what? So if you just suck at being a coach so bad, instead of getting fired and be on the hot seat and just want to be better, get good, instead you can just turn it off and just be safe no matter what you do. You can run in the program and just be fine. Come on. Why are you making the game too easy? Colt Disney? What does that even mean? What do you mean Colt Disney? I don't even like Disney. Being a higher ranked team will have a large impact than beating one of the generic FCS teams. Similar, losing to a generic FCS is not a good look, especially if you're a top elite program. All coaches also have coach procedures allowed to the grade from A plus to F. Is also reflective of your ability. At the end of your contract, the school will evaluate whether or not they want to extend your contract based on your performance. If you're offered an extension, you'll be notified the school has decided to extend your contract will be automatically accepted. Don't worry, it's automatic acceptance doesn't mean you're unable to change jobs. When signing your contract, you have the opportunity to look at the last 20 years and see the kind of program you're taking over. Of course, your program's history will continue to update over time as you play your dynasty. Interesting. Coach Carousel. The carousel kicks off during Conference Championship Week. During this week, all coach contracts are processed and schools determine if they want to fire, extend, or let a coach's contract expire. If a school has decided to fire or extend you, you'll receive an action item notifying you of the news. If you're the head coach, you'll also be able to fire your coordinators during this week. More on that later. Well, we've kind of already talked about that. Once you arrive the week and arrive in bowl season, the first round of job offers go out. If you received any job offers, you'll be notified via job offers. Let's see, what else to look at? I know, I'm scrolling through. What are these images? Coach Carousel. Oh. Every coordinator has a standard 2-year contract. Once their contract expires, they'll be automatically removed for another 2 years. Starting bowl week 1, you can hire new coordinators if you have an open position. You'll present a curated list of candidates. These coaches are chosen to you based on the needs of your school. You can only offer one coach per position each week. And once you have offered them, they will appear in your staff management screen with an offer tag. When you advance the week and re-enter screen, you'll find out whether they accepted your offer. If they did, they will join your program for the national championship game when we process all coach moves. If they rejected your offer, you'll have the opportunity to offer another coach. You'll always have at least one coach available to hire who does not require you to complete with another school. If you end the carousel, you have not been able to fill an open position, you will be automatically given a new coordinator that is on par with the caliber of your program. Build your program. And it's talking about what we said earlier of how, a lot of the, high rising, highly touted quarterbacks out there come from Southern California. A lot of the speedy wide receivers come from, let's just say, Eastern Texas. So it's kind of given that area where, hey, if you're looking for wide receivers, you may want to look in that geographic region. Recruitment begins its discovery. In this initial stage, you find out which prospects to target, what their skills are, and what they care about most. Uncare information as quickly as possible. Once a recruit announces their top 5 schools, it's time to pitch. During the pitch phase, you're selling the recruit on your program and what you offer. How well your school aligns with their motivations will determine how successful you are. The final stage is to close. This is when you bring the recruit in an official visit and attempt to leave a lasting impression by your program. If the visit goes well, you'll make huge gains with the recruit and possibly secure a valuable commit following the visit. Ultimately, the recruit will make the finals of National Signing Day. Playing time, playing style, championship contender. We talked about these earlier. All these things are important to the recruit, and different things will mean different things for different people. Like, for instance, probably most likely the 4 and 5 stars. Their most important thing is pro potential because they want to go to the NFL. Meanwhile, if you're trying to get a 2 or 3 star, they may care about more proximity to home, right? Finally, there's brand exposure, which is a reflection of your school's brand and the potential NIL opportunities as a player you could enter school. Okay, we talked about this. We asked about this earlier. While you won't see players having a mustard named after them in College Football 25, recruits and transfers alike will access their NIL earning potential and branding opportunities when considering where to go. That still doesn't really answer my question, because I was like, how do you calculate brand exposure, the grade, and how do you increase it, right? What do you do to look at your brand exposure? So that still doesn't really answer my question, so I guess we just find out when we get our hands on the game and figure it out. Colt Frog gets carried by his coordinators when he soaks up the glory of his Mickey Mouse reigns at Alabama. I'm not going to Alabama, though. Why would I go to Alabama? If I'm going to Alabama, the only reason why I'm going to Alabama is because I make a team builder in the state of Alabama. That's the only reason. Each season, more than 3,500 recruits are generated from across the country. Just the real world, every class is different. Some years have a plethora of great quarterback talent, while others have fewer great prospects. Similar to the quantity and quality of the prospects in the region. We talk about Southern California with the quarterbacks, these stats with the wide receivers. What a recruit cares about. We talked about this earlier. Once recruiting starts, recruits will narrow down their top schools over time from going from open to top 8 to top 5 to top 3 and ultimately commitment. Your job is to stay above the cut line each week. Great recruiters will quickly recognize losing battles and pivot their resource to different prospects with more prominence of commitment. At advancing week, you'll be shown a recruiting summary of any changes in recruit status, so you can quickly identify where you need to spend your time at that week. Oh, this is something that I know people are talking about. Teams with a higher team prestige, which is Alabama versus, let's just say, Southern Alabama or Sam Houston. Teams with a higher team prestige will have more recruiting hours each week. This is meant to model the recruiting resource the program has, with higher tier programs having a significantly more resources available to them. For example, the preseason, a 5-star program would have 1,000 recruiting hours compared to only 350 for a 1-star program. In addition, the maximum recruiting hours you can spend in a week, each prospect has a maximum of hours that you can spend on them in a freaking week. The default maximum is 50 hours, but this can be increased to a maximum of 70 with the always be recruiting ability for that position. Let's see, anything else to look at? And once again, you guys can also go to College Football 25 and read the blog post for yourself, or you can pause the video if you're watching this on YouTube and read through it as well as I'm scrolling. DM the player. Message the player directly on social media to start a conversation, learn more information about them. DMs will give you a small amount of influence and you start to build that relationship. So, can I just send them a DM saying, send nudes? Or at midnight, give them a text saying, you up? Right? Is that what I can DM them? Soft sell and hard sell. Soft sell awards a moderate amount of influence when choosing the correct pitch. It also limits the downside risk and penalty of pitching the prospect something they do not care about. This is best when you have some idea of what the recruit is motivated by. Hard sell. This provides most influence when choosing the correct pitch, but it also comes with the largest penalty if you pitch the wrong thing. It's best to hard sell the recruit when you know their ideal pitch, or if you're desperate and just hoping for the best. Each pitch is a collection of 3 motivations, and there are 20 pitches total. For example, this Sunday bound pitch sells a recruit on your school being a championship contender, is conference prestige, and your school's track record of sending kids to next level. How well the pitch aligns with the prospect's motivations as well as your associated my school grades will ultimately determine how well your pitch lands with a prospect. For example, let's say the prospect's current ideal pitch is hometown hero, which includes campus lifestyle, proximity to home, and program tradition. To increase your probability of success, you would want to stay away from a pitch that also has one or two of the hometown hero motivations. Let's sway on the prospect and the college experience pitch, which includes academic prestige, campus lifestyle, and stadium atmosphere. Stage 3, close. Time is everything when it comes to scheduling a visit. Waiting to bring the recruit in for a big-time rivalry game late in the season could have a lot of upside, but also carries risk since there's a chance the prospect will commit somewhere else prior to your visit date. Horny jail. Once again, Dakota, I said this earlier. You can't be sent to horny jail if you're already in prison. We also start with this. Who you play the day of the visit also matters. Every visit to a regular season comes with a set of game day stakes, which is the influence you'll receive with the recruit of winning game and potential downside of a loss. Nobody wants to go to a game in a weak environment. Playing a lower tier opponent will provide very little upside and major downside if you lose. Conversely, playing your rival, who is also a top 5 team, will have the potential to leave a lasting impression. Of course, you can avoid any risk entirely by scheduling during a bye week, but then you get no game-related bonuses at all. After saying which date the prospect is going to visit, the next step is to select what they are going to do on their visit. There are 14 activities a recruit can do during a visit, and each activity maps to a prospect motivation. Similar to pitches, the alignment of the recruit's interest level in that activity and your My School grade will determine how much the recruit enjoys the activity. Nailing the visit can often be the difference between being in a top 5 class or being left at the altar on signing day. If things go well, there's a chance the recruit will verbally commit to your school following the visit. While you should feel good about securing a verbal commit, it's critical you stay on top of things until they sign their letter of intent on signing day. If a prospect is verbally committed and they have a deal breaker, they will decommit from your school if you fall below the required grade threshold prior to signing day. Once a player is signed on your signing day, you'll have nothing to worry about until they arrive on campus, and your next challenge is keeping them happy and out of the transfer portal. Which is what I said earlier, because, in the past games, you would try to keep them happy, you would say all their needs, say all the wants, say everything they want to hear, and they would commit to your school, and then it's like, okay, you're at my school and everything, you're on my roster, and all the promises, everything you promised them just kind of falls apart. You don't really matter anymore because, well, you recruited them, and that's all that matters. But here, you still got to keep up with those promises, even after they're on your school, because otherwise they'll leave. Once a player decides to leave, you have the opportunity to persuade them to stay. The chance to successfully persuade a player to stay is determined by their overall and your coach prestige. Higher overall players will be harder to convince than lower overall. Keep in mind you have only a limited number of persuasion attempts determined by your coach prestige. The higher your coach prestige, the more attempts you'll have. Signing day. In Dynasty, players will automatically progress their attributes and physical abilities. Mental abilities, we talked about this earlier, cannot be upgraded, allowing for greater differentiation between players. Players, we also talked about this, players will progress during the season based on their on-field performance, but the bulk of their progression will happen in the off-season. Younger players like rising sophomores will take larger leaps during the offseason than rising senior. Interesting. In College Football 25, there are 4 player development traits. Normal, these players are most common and progress at a standard rate. Expect them to steadily grow over their career. Impact, the type of player that can really change a team. They'll progress faster than normal, which higher upside. Star, a potential Sunday player There are very few of these to go around, and they'll establish themselves early as fast learners. Elite. The best of the best. These players will make a statement on the moment they get on campus, and they have the potential to be an all-time great. As Scott described in the gameplay deep dive, players can have up to 5 physical abilities and 3 mental abilities. Both physical and mental abilities have 4 tiers: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. Physical abilities are determined by the player's archetype, while mental are position specific. Managing wear and tear. With the intricacies of the new wear and tear system and week-to-week management of your players, players can incur damage to body parts during gameplay. The more damage to a body part is, the more it will impact their on-field performance. In addition to on-field gameplay, players will also incur wear and tear damage during Super Sim. Each week, players will recover some of their wear and tear damage. The amount of recovery is dependent on how damaged the body part is. For example, let's say in the previous game, the running back severely damaged his right ankle, his left shoulder was only slightly damaged. The next week, you can expect his shoulder to be fully recovered and his ankle to be only slightly recovered. His ankle would then be something you want to mar in that game. You could also decide to sim in an effort to allow him to get back to full health the following week, or you could play him at risk of increasing how long it takes him to fully recover. Yeah. Wear and tear, from everything I've seen, everything that I've talked about, wear and tear seems to be the make or break thing in College Football 25 over anything. If it is balanced, it is tuned correctly, and it's not ridiculously punishing. It's not ridiculously stupid, overpowered, where you're constantly getting injured. You're constantly having to swap out your second and third and fourth string guys to replace your stars because your stars are always getting hurt. Like, if it's ridiculously aggressive and annoying, then yeah, it's a bad system. But if it's tuned properly, I think people enjoy it. But also, if you are worried about the whole wear and tear system, it's not a good idea for you. You can also turn it off. I don't know if I will turn it off, but I know if people really, really, really hate the wear and tear system, you can turn it off. Now let's hear more about the 12-team college football playoff. The 12-team format is a 5+7 model, meaning the 5 highest-ranked conference champions will get automatic berths into playoff, and the remaining 7 spots will be filled based on order of the final college football playoff rankings, which is the top 25 if you don't know. The only way to get a first-round bye is to be one of the 4 highest-ranked conference champions, so an undefeated Notre Dame or any other independent, as well as the winner of the Pac-12, since there's only 2 teams, so that's not saying much, can be seeded no higher than 5th and will never be eligible to skip the playoff first round. The 5th automatic qualifier that did not get a first-round bye will be seeded based on where they rank in the final college football playoff poll. So, Notre Dame, the highest they can literally go, 13-0, and everyone else has a loss in college football for a season. Notre Dame will not get anything higher than 5 unless you bring Notre Dame into the SEC. For some reason, I don't know why you do that, but, I mean, for some reason, USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten for some reason. So, unless you bring Notre Dame into a conference, they will not go higher than 5. So if you're a Notre Dame fan, if you want them to be higher than 5, they need to be in a conference. One of the most exciting parts about the new 12-team format is that the first round games will be played on campus. Hosting one of those games means that you'll have all of your home field advantage on your side to take on your opponents you look to win in advance. The playoff, quarterfinals, and semifinals take place at the bowls, formerly known as the New Year's Six, Orange, Sugar, Rose, Fiesta, Cotton, and Peach, which rotate annually just like in real life, which is true. The Cotton Bowl typically is a New Year's Six Bowl for the college football playoff, but obviously it wasn't last year because otherwise Mizzou would have been the college football playoff. And if there was a 12-team format, Mizzou would have been the college football playoff last year. So maybe this year. Who knows? Here's hoping. The College Football National Championship has also a rotation of hosts. Start at the Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta through 10 locations before looping back around as you continue deep into your dynasty. Interesting. In addition to the College Football Playoff, we also feature 34 bowl games, each using their real-world bowl tie-ins. So the New Orleans Bowl will annual feature from the teams in the Sun Belt and the Conference USA. Nice. Conference realignment. Yep. The SEC will accurately follow the 8-game with one protect opponent rotation, while the Big Ten will utilize their 9-game flex protect model and so on. You can reduce any conference to as few as 4 members and grow any conference to as large as 20 schools. In addition to moving schools in different conferences, you can have a school go independent for the ultimate in schedule flexibility. Remember, it comes at the expense of potential first-round bye in the college football playoff. We said that earlier with Notre Dame. If you want Notre Dame to be the number 1 seed in the college football playoff, well, you better have them join a conference, especially a respected one. Because I don't know if they'll go number 1 overall if you have them join the Sun Belt. But the ACC, that's a different story. Moving conferences does not mean you're stuck with the old conference jerseys patched for the logo on the 25-yard lines. Those will dynamically update based on conference membership, which I know is something that people are happy about because in years past, let's say you brought James Madison, you can see right here on the screen. You brought James Madison, you brought them the ACC like you're seeing on the screen right here. If you brought them in the ACC, in years past, the jersey patch would not show the ACC. It would show... What conference is James Madison in right now? They're in the Sun Belt. So instead of, ACC logos on the field like you're seeing here, or in the jerseys, it would still say the Sun Belt. But now, you bring James Madison in the ACC, they'll have the ACC logo patch, which is nice. See? Look at that. For non-conference games, we have included as many real-world games as we were announced by the time we had to lock schedules. So when you get to 2027 and 2028, the Florida State-Georgia home series will already be scheduled. In 2029 and 29-30, the Notre Dame-Alabama home we schedule, etc. Interesting. So, from a Mizzou perspective, Mizzou is supposed to play Kansas, I want to say starting in 2020... It's either 2026 or 2027. And Mizzou's also playing like Illinois in like 2028, 2029. So, if we did a Mizzou Dynasty, those games are in the schedule. Nice. Week 0's in there. The crowd themes that our friends in presentation talked about recently also appear in Dynasty. If your school does a whiteout, blackout, checkerboard, stripe, etc., you'll see those crowd themes in the first home game of the season for rivalry games and if you are named as the game of the week. Interesting. Conference games are designated with a lock icon and cannot be edited, but your non-conference games that do not have a lock are fair game to edit. So, yeah, for instance, if you were doing an Auburn Dynasty, you cannot remove Alabama in November for the Iron Bowl. No matter what. No matter how much you don't want to play Alabama, you must play Alabama for the Iron Bowl. That's a lock. That's a must. Same thing with Mizzou. They have to play Arkansas in November near Thanksgiving every year. Team Builder is back. You can board up to 16 Team Builder teams in private online Dynasty. The commission will need to replace existing FBS schools with the Team Builder teams they want to add when setting up the Dynasty. Including Team Builder schools is only available at the creation of the league and can only be used in private online dynasties. So make sure your commissioner knows which schools you want to use when getting the online dynasty started. Red shirts, which means you have maximum. If you want to use a red shirt, the player has to play 4 games a season. That's the max. Once you get to 5, as you can see here, they are no longer a red shirt. So you're kind of screwed. For certain schools like Ohio State and Florida State, the pride stickers that are applied to an individual player's helmet of the course this season are as iconic as any other tradition in college football. Each season, the helmet starts fresh and over the course of the season. Based on each player's performance, pride stickers are added to gain a visual representation of that player's accomplishments. Nice. So, yeah. So, as you can see here with Florida State, you have a couple axes, a couple hatchets for DJ Uiagalelei. I don't know how to pronounce that. So, fairly new player, hasn't really accomplished much yet at Florida State, but you bring it over here, now it's full of axes, which means he's accomplished a lot at Florida State. Same thing with Ohio State, where it's a clean helmet, they haven't accomplished much yet. And now it's full of Buckeyes, which means they've accomplished a lot, which is really cool. Both online and offline Dynasty can go up to 30 seasons. Up to 32 users can participate in Dynasty, offline or online. Only 1 user per school. Commissioners in charge. Commissioner stats can be transferred from the members screen as well. Commissioners have the ability to force a win in the event that a game was not able to be completed. And for those who would like to restart a game for the CPU, that isn't going your way. The number of times the game is started is tracked on the scores for all to see. So, let's just say you're in an online dynasty and you are Alabama and you are playing against FCS school. If you're having to constantly restart because for some reason you're playing terrible and you keep getting embarrassed and you keep having to restart trying to win, everyone in that online dynasty can see how many times you restart against the CPU as Alabama trying to beat an FCS school, which is crazy to think about. Like we said at the top, at the end of the day, everything centered around one goal: satisfy the core community, because this is their game. Our entire team embraced this and tried our best to embody it each and every day. It's been an incredible journey. We couldn't be more excited for you to finally experience it. Thank you for the team and the community, blah, blah. College Football 25 launches worldwide July 19th. We pre-ordered it, so now we get to play it on Monday, July 15th. So yeah, that is, I want to say, everything. We reacted to the trailer. We read this huge deep dive arc. Once again, you can read this for yourself if you want. As you can see, we are still scrolling. It is a lot. Right? It is a lot. But I feel like we touched on the most important things, the things that people care about the most. I work at a fish factory. Interesting. Okay. Well, shout out to you for the follow. Welcome. But yeah, I feel like that's going to do it for this stream because we reacted to the trailer for Dynasty Mode. We read the blog post. We shared pretty much everything that we could. At least we touched on the important stuff that at least I think is important to mention. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the stream. I hope you guys are also excited for College Football 25 like I am, as you can see. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm more waiting to see. Now that we got the Dynasty Deep Dive, I'm now waiting to see what the Road to Glory Deep Dive is all about. That's my bread and butter. That's what I'm waiting for. Let me see the Road to Glory Deep Dive. Because I want to see what this game's all about. Because obviously we know there is no high school in Road to Glory, which is disappointing. I will get by it, unfortunately. But if EA can show me the amount of effort that clearly they're showing in Dynasty with Road to Glory, I'll be excited. And we will see when we get that Road to Glory deep dive. And obviously, similar to where now, we'll be reacting to it. We'll be reacting to the blog post. We'll be sharing our thoughts. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this stream. And yeah, college football is very, very soon. We are less than 2 weeks away from the release date. So be prepared for a lot of streams by me when this game comes out. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. I will see you guys next time.